All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. We got Monday Night Football, Chiefs taking on the Saints. In this video, we're going to dive into this game. I'm going to give you my lean on the side. I'll give you my lean on the total. We'll talk about any other plays like player props that we like within the game as well. I have an underdog slip to give you at the end of the video as well. But as always, guys, keep an eye on the pinned comment for all of my final plays. If you do want to fade me, all of those plays are going to be living in the pinned comment. So yeah, we got the Chiefs taking on the Saints. Before we do dive into it, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Let's get rocking and rolling here. Chiefs minus 5.5 point favorites at home here on Monday night. Total sitting at 43. Now the Chiefs coming into this game 4-0 this year, 3-1 against the spread. You can definitely make the argument that they've lucked out and been kind of lucky to be where they are right now in terms of their record. But you know what? 4-0 is 4-0. And if there's any team in the NFL that's going to get those breaks or late game, little situational calls and whatnot, it is the Chiefs, right? Now, New Orleans comes in 2-2, and their two losses have been super close against Philly and then Atlanta. And their two wins have been absolute blowouts, Carolina and Dallas, right? So we have two good teams in here. In fact, if we just jump into our dashboard, we can check it out against the DVOA metrics here. Total right now for DVOA, New Orleans ranking 3rd, Kansas City 9th. Offensively, we have the 9 and 10 team here. 7th for both pass and run for New Orleans, 13th and 11th for the pass and run for Kansas City. On the defensive side of the ball, this is where there may be a little bit of a, advantage for New Orleans, and we'll talk about team advantages in just a second, but you can see, defensively, 2nd best DVOA ranked team right now through 4 weeks, 15th for Kansas City, 3rd and 8th for pass and run for New Orleans, and then 19th, maybe a little wiggle room there in a soft spot, right, for pass, but against the run, they are very good. So like I said, let's talk about some advantages for both teams. I guess we can start with New Orleans overall and sort of where their advantage can come in this game. And I want to start with Derek Carr and sort of the defensive front that he's facing right now. So Kansas City blitzes at a top 7 rate so far through 4 weeks this season, right? And that's really important because they blitz a lot. However, they only rank 5th best in terms of sacks. So they're not getting to the quarterback. They do pressure the quarterback at a top 10 percentage, but in terms of what we see them actually getting to the quarterback, not so much. And that's super important because this year Derek Carr has been a completion percentage god, right? He ranks 3rd in the entire league in terms of quarterback completion percentage, but when he gets actually pressured or moved or out of the pocket, when he doesn't have a clean pocket, he drops down to 17th, sort of middle of the pack in the league, which is very important because again, they are blitzing a lot. They are trying to pressure a lot in terms of getting to the quarterback, but Kansas City hasn't fully been getting to the quarterback. So though you may look at the metrics and say Kansas City's going to go, ass hauling at the quarterback and rush him, it really hasn't been that great of a success for them. And New Orleans actually not allowing many pressures, not allowing many hits, not allowing many hurries. So very good and favorable for Derek Carr in that spot. They're also ranked, like I already talked about, 19th in pass DVOA. This is a guy that has been dotting up teams this season. Even in some of their losses, Derek Carr has looked pretty damn good, right? So I don't think the pass is going to be an issue for him. The only thing that I would draw maybe concern is the fact that Derek Carr has lit up zone coverage. Kansas City for years and years has not really played, more zone than man. They're usually a man team. So that's something to kind of consider. But overall, I really don't see it being an issue. I think that pocket, cleanliness in a sense is going to be huge for Derek Carr. So I like the idea of that. And again, he has weapons on the outside. Even his running back, Alvin Kamara, who was questionable, I think is good to go now, is sort of a pass catching back as well. So even though Kansas City is so good against the rush, I do still think Derek Carr is going to have his weapons and kind of have his way in terms of being able to pass the ball. Now, on the Kansas City side of things, similar situation in terms of how this defensive front or scheme may favor Patrick Mahomes actually. So New Orleans, really good defense. No one's taking anything away from their defense, but in terms of their pressure, their blitzing and hurrying the quarterback, they're not all that tremendous in it. And when Patrick Mahomes faces teams that aren't all that great in it, he does really well. Top 10 in completion percentage, yards, touchdowns, everything like that when he's not pressured. So you give one of the best quarterbacks of all time, and obviously in the league right now, time in the pocket, a clean pocket. I think he's going to find his guys. Now, similar to Derek Carr, he does a lot better against zone coverage. New Orleans this year has actually been running a decent amount of man, so I do think Patrick Mahomes should be pretty comfortable. The issue kind of becomes, well, Rashee Rice goes out, right? Isaiah Pacheco goes out. So now he's throwing to Xavier Worthy, Juju Smith-Schuster, Watson. Like, he doesn't have the best cast around him. And Travis Kelce has also been a guy, kind of his right-hand man for years, that helps in that zone, absolutely dotting and throwing in little spacing routes and whatnot. Travis Kelce isn't all that, I guess historically, isn't all that great against man coverage either. So though he's been slow, you might be thinking, okay, this team gets injured. Now it's time for Kelce to kind of step it up and get going. I don't know if New Orleans is exactly the best situation for him to get going. I do think Kelce is enough of a dog and great enough to be able to step it up based on what he's doing. We even saw him start to get going last week, right? But against man coverage, it's not exactly like these two should be able to tear it up or dot it up. So though Patrick Mahomes should be comfortable in the pocket, should have time to be able to find receivers, who are the receivers that he's going to be throwing to, right? So with all that being said, you can probably tell by the tone in my voice, I am going to lean towards the Saints plus the 5.5 points. Now, I don't really mean to talk anyone off the Kansas City side of things. Like, I feel like this is what Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid and the Chiefs do, right? Like, people doubt them. They try and throw blemishes at the idea that they are 4-0 and blah, blah, blah. And then they just prove that they're worth it in a sense, right? Whereas the Saints team, 2-2, yes, they look great to start the year. Are they the real deal? I'm not exactly sold on that either, but 5.5 points seems like it's a little bit too much here just because of the Chiefs being banged up. I think if Rice was playing and Pacheco was playing, I think I'd look at this and say a lot of people believe in the Saints, but this is Patrick Mahomes and a healthy offense, but we don't have that side of it, right? So I'm going to lean towards the Saints plus the 5.5 points. Again, it's not my favorite play. Keep an eye on the pinned comment. I think that this, like a couple games we've talked about recently, may be more of a player prop valuable, and you have the variance and edge there, player prop type of a game. But keep an eye on the pinned comment to see what we ultimately roll with. We'll talk about player props in just a second. In terms of, I guess, a total here, neither one of these teams plays all that fast. Can they score? Do they have great playmakers? Yes, so obviously you can make that argument, but they don't play that fast in terms of seconds per snap or plays per 60, right? Neither one of them really runs the no huddle, so I don't mind the idea of two decent defenses here battling it out and an under 43. So I'd lean towards the Saints plus the 5.5 points, and that kind of correlates as well to an under 43, because obviously if we have that plus 5.5, and honestly, I might even buy it up to like 7 if need be, if we do end up betting it, pay a little bit extra juice. But that kind of correlates to a low scoring game as well, right? So give me the Saints as well as the under. Let me know what you guys are rolling with in the comments, because like I said, I can see an argument being made for the Chiefs. I just don't think, the whole Derek Carr and his completion percentage and how good they look at times, right, against some of these defenses, like I guess you could say Dallas, that you'd think would be good, right? It's like Derek Carr is still dotting them up, and it's like Kansas City's pass defense hasn't been there. They try to get to the quarterback, but they haven't got to the quarterback this year, and this is a decent Saints line. So to me, there just isn't enough to get to the Chiefs side of things, but I can sort of see the argument. So let me know what you guys are rolling with in the comments down below. I love seeing the comments because a lot more people in there smarter than me, that is for sure. But let's go ahead and talk about some player props. Before we do that, guys, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and check out Underdog. Like I said, I have an Underdog for, I think we went three-man slip at the end of this video that we'll dive into. But if you guys want to take that three-man slip and tack on a free square, Patrick Mahomes, 0.5 total yards, go ahead and do so. They're also going to give you up to $1,000 in a deposit bonus when signing up, which is like absolutely bonkers, right? Up to $1,000 in a deposit bonus. So go check it out. That link is in the pinned comment. You can also find it in the description as well. Get this Patrick Mahomes square and go ahead and check out Underdog. If you don't know what it is, it's a player prop app, and it's legal in a lot of states that they don't even offer sportsbook. So if you're watching this and you have to go with that offshore BS and whatnot, check out Underdog if you like player props. That link is in the pinned comment and also in the description. But you combine 2 or more player props into a slip. You can put this in as one of them, and the more you win, the more you get paid out. And again, up to $1,000 in a deposit bonus. Are they crazy? Go check it out. That link is in the pinned comment. So let's go ahead and dive into a couple player props here. All right, we're going to toss it over to the Outlier screen. If you guys have not checked out Outlier, I also have a link in the pinned comment for that. You get 7 days free of everything that we were looking at here in this one. And we're starting off with a Kansas City Chief, and one that you might not even really know too much about. But with the injury of Rashee Rice, I love Justin Watson this week. Now, it is kind of a flyer. Do not get me wrong. This guy could go out there and play like 10% of snaps. But based on what we've seen, I've actually liked, kind of his uptick in the, what would you say, half of a game since Rice has been out. So target percentage was 5% through weeks 1 through 3. So 1, 2, and 3, right? And that makes sense. But all of a sudden in week 4, it jumped to just under 10%. And that's not even with a full game with Rice being out. He ran 47 total routes through week 1 and 3. He ran 23. Nearly half of that in 1 week. Of the first 3 weeks, 1 week, he ran 23 last week. And then route participation, I meant to say precipitation. Route participation here was 49% through 1 through 3, meaning when they have a pass play and he's on the field, is he running those routes, right? It was 49 in week 1 through 3. It jumped to 72% in week number 4. So this is almost like a volume spot where I think that he's going to get more of an uplift. We saw Juju Smith-Schuster obviously get a little bit more snaps and whatnot, but he went from like 22% to 50%. Like Watson's actually outranking him in snaps and routes run. So I think this is the sneaky play here. Again, it can be a little crazy. I'm not arguing that. A lot of people watching this are probably like, Justin Watson, what? But I like the idea of him over 24 and a half, receiving yards here. I don't mind for plus 145 is over 2.5 receptions either. Like, I'll sound the psycho alert alarm for this one, but I actually do think it has a decent chance of being a final play. We move over to the Saints side of things, and it is another wide receiver. Chris Olave here over 59.5 receiving yards. Now, we talked about the Chiefs' pass defense being kind of meh, against the wide receiver, so that's obviously good. They do tend to shut down the wide receiver one, which would be Chris Olave, but like I already mentioned, they play a lot of man. Chris Olave has been really good against man. He has the trend so far this year. To wide receivers, you can see, like I said, they kind of shut it down, but overall, they're still allowing a lot of receiving yards, and there isn't really a tight end focus in terms of what we might see from the Saints. So I think that they're going to force the ball to Olave, especially if Carr has the time and allows Olave to break down the guy that's covering. Doesn't matter. I don't really care who it is on the Kansas City secondary side of things. So I like him over 59.5. Again, it's really based on the fact that this is a weak-ish pass defense. I shouldn't say weak, more middle of the pack, but they specialize in rush defense, and Chris Olave is really good against man. He should see a lot of man-to-man, so let him go break them down. Do I mind his receptions? No, but 4.5 for minus 150 seemed like it's a little bit too much. And by the way, guys, if you do like what you're seeing here in terms of outlier, they have tons of stuff. You can look at his targets and share of targets and all that, right? But my favorite thing is actually, so we could see minus 110, minus 113. Say we did want to go and say, okay, well, I have DraftKings Sportsbook, right? You can click DraftKings, you can scan it on your phone or continue in browser. It's literally going to put this right into your slip. You don't even have to go digging for it. So it's pretty damn cool, this outlier tool. Again, 7 days free with the link in the pinned comment. But I like Olave, maybe yards or receptions. The receptions odds would have to be a little bit better. Now we stay on the Saints side of things, and I'm looking at Alvin Kamara, and I'm actually fading one of the best running backs in the league. And yeah, you could say he's washed or old, but look at what he's done rushing yards through this entire season, right? He's averaging 90.5, but I'm actually going to go towards the under here. So under 66.5 rushing yards for him. Yeah, it looks a little bit crazy, but look at what Kansas City's done against running backs this year. Again, they're second DVOA in terms of rush defense. Rushing yards allowed to running back specific, they are second. And I just like the idea of, his rush attempts, 15, 20, 26, 19. I don't think he's really going to get there now. His line for rush attempts was at 15.5. I think he can have 16 rushes, you know what I mean? But overall, I'm thinking the idea that he has less volume than normal, meaning getting to that line of 67 there may be a little bit tough. My one sort of concern, I should say, is that Jamal Williams here isn't really even a factor, right? We have Alvin Kamara running for 60% of these. In the red zone, they're trusting him as well, but he can go out there and catch as many passes as he wants. I just don't like him to go ahead and capitalize on the ground game. So again, to recap, we have Justin Watson, I would say over 24.5 receiving yards, Chris Olave over 59.5 receiving yards, and then Alvin Kamara under 66.5 rushing yards. So that's what we're rolling with, at least in terms of leans for player props. Keep an eye on the pin comment, like I always tell you guys, to see what we ultimately roll with if you do want to ride with me or if you want to fade me. Now, like I mentioned, we do have an underdog slip to throw your way. And again, let me take one more second to let you know that underdog still has, in the last 2 minutes, it hasn't changed, still has this Patrick Mahomes free square there. But in terms of what we're rolling with, we're going to just take those plays that we just threw at you. Higher for 58.5, so we have an even better line for Olave over underdog for his receiving yards. Lower than 101.5 rush plus receiving. Now, this is where we deferred, or, I guess kind of got distant from just the rushing yards, but I still think that's a super high line for him to have 102 scrimmage yards for Kamara, so we're leaning towards the under there. And then in terms of Justin Watson, higher than 24.5 receiving yards. We already talked about that. If this underdog slip hits, I will give away $50 to someone in the comments. All you have to do is comment underdog and then give me your Instagram handle or your Twitter handle so I know how to reach out. If you just comment underdog and I don't have a handle, I'm not going to be able to reach out to you when you have to move on to the next person. But again, go ahead and comment underdog with your Instagram handle or your Twitter handle, and I'll be able to reach out. Make sure you let me know which one it is, Instagram or Twitter. But yeah, that's how you can enter this giveaway. Again, $50. We'll see if this slaps. I like all these player props. We'll see what we bet individually, but for an underdog slip, I think we're getting an 8x payout if you want to ride with that as well. And you could throw on the Patrick Mahomes square on this and make it even better. But yeah, comment underdog and your Instagram/Twitter handle, and you guys can enter the giveaway. But that is all I have for you in today's show. Hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button as well. You guys have been absolutely electric throughout the NFL season. We're 4 weeks in profitable. We don't know exactly how we're turning out in week 5 just yet. Thursday Night Football, we made profit. Some of our plays are ongoing on Sunday right now, but as always, keep an eye on the pinned comment. Let's keep trying to win. But you know what? I laugh at it because I love to bet for the entertainment purposes of loving to watch the game even more, having more fun watching the game. I think we're lucky that we just keep making money, you know what I mean? But hey, that is just me. But I'll catch you guys in the next one, all right? Peace out.